These watches may look similar, but they're built for two different people. I got the Forerunner 165 over here and the Coros Pace 4 over here. I've been wearing the Forerunner 165 for over a year now and the Coros Pace 4 for over 2 months. Now let's jump into the most critical features for runners, which is the GPS and the pacing accuracy. Now, when it came to GPS, they were pretty similar. I mean, I'm not going to put up a bunch of maps. If you're looking for super high intense details, you should honestly be paying for more than what these watches cost because they're both budget running watches. Now, the number one thing I did see that was different about these two is how they tracked pacing and even steps. When it came to the pace, I found that the Forerunner 165 was a little more accurate and on spot with changing my pace as I went, and the Coros Pace 4 seemed like it was a little lacking, but it would catch up in the end. Sometimes it would say I was moving a little too fast or a little too slow. The reason why I know that is because I wasn't really changing my pace much. So that might be a GPS thing, don't really know. All I know is they're both pretty accurate with each other. They're pretty similar in this area, but if you're really nitpicky, I'd say the Garmin is a little more accurate than the Coros. But on race day, I trust both of these watches. I don't care which one you wear. I know you're gonna get a good reading. You're gonna be able to stay on pace. You're gonna be able to hit your goals during your race if you wear either of these watches. Now, if you're doing a triathlon, wear the Coros Pace 4. If you're just doing a marathon, wear the Garmin or Coros Pace 4, honestly. Now, when it came to heart rate monitoring while on my run, that's another story here. I felt like the Garmin was a little more accurate than the Coros Pace 4, just by like a fraction of a hair. The Coros was a little jumpy when it came to my heart rate, whereas the Garmin was a little more consistent with my heart rate. Now, I don't have a heart rate monitor to compare both of these two, so I'd say they're both good in general. And honestly, like I said before, unless you're looking to buy a more expensive watch, both of these are pretty accurate and similar when it comes to consistency, with the heart rate, the pace, or any other metric you're looking at when on your run. Now, one thing that these watches differ at a bunch is how they track steps. So if you're a person that wants to know how many steps you're doing every day, if you want realistic results, get the Coros Pace 4. Because the Garmin Forerunner 165 was double the amount of steps every single day. And I think it's because of how they track movements. I know that the Garmin does it by shaking, and every step tracker honestly does it, but maybe, now that I'm saying it out loud, maybe it's the Coros that was really off. Maybe the Garmin was more accurate because the Coros likes to get a rhythm and really use an algorithm to really see how many steps you're taking, whereas the Garmin is like step, I think. Honestly, I don't know that much. This isn't a science-based review channel. All I can tell you is that you're going to get less steps wearing the Coros Pace 4 than you are with the Garmin Forerunner 165. But I've heard Garmin's pretty accurate when it comes to their step tracking, so it really might be a Coros Pace 4 thing. But if you're getting a Coros Pace 4, you're probably not worried about your steps because you're training so much throughout the week anyways. Now let's talk about the training modes that both of these watches offer. Number one, Coros Pace 4 definitely has way more options than the Garmin Forerunner 165. But do you really need everything the Coros Pace 4 has? Probably not, especially if you're that high intensity training athlete that wants to focus on becoming a triathlete, becoming an ultra runner, becoming a person that does the Tour de France. This has way too many options, but it's really cool to have all those options when you're using a Garmin like the Forerunner 165 and you have way less options and you're like, whoa, this has so many more. So if you're looking for options of working out, the Coros Pace 4 is where it's at. Now, when it comes to training and doing multiple things in your training session, the Coros Pace 4 definitely excels because it has multi-sport mode, whereas the Forerunner 165 does not have multi-sport mode, and you have to stop and start different workouts as you're going throughout each workout. And I think it's a cool feature to have on the Coros Pace 4, especially because it has a triathlete mode as well, which when you have that, you need to have seamless transitions. And that's why I think the multi-sport is built into it. So when it comes to training with these and doing different workouts like a cardio session and a strength session and a HIIT training session and maybe a specific rowing session, the Coros Pace 4 really excels at it. But if you really don't care about transitioning and starting and stopping your workouts, the Forerunner 165 will definitely meet your standards, but it will be lacking things like what I love the most, the rower, which is behind the camera. Now, another thing about these watches is their battery life. Honestly, it's pretty similar. I wore both of them at the exact same time for the first month, and they both last about 2 weeks long. I was using the max GPS on both the watches. I was using the max brightness on both the watches. I wasn't using always on display. I was using where you have to flip and you can see the display come up. And honestly, I only work out about 5 times a week and do about 2 to 3 runs a week as well. So that impacts the battery life as well. But like I said, they last about 2 weeks each. By the way, this video is not sponsored by Coros, y'all. And if you're enjoying the content about this watch and what this watch has to offer, I do have an affiliate link down below in the description. But let's get back to the video. Now, another thing that these two watches offer is the environments of their brand. The Garmin has a bunch of pre-made workouts and the Coros has a bunch of pre-made workouts. Coros gives you a lot more options, specifically when it comes to cardio, when it comes to running, when it comes to cycling. Garmin, you have to really set a plan and then you get the options. You can't just choose from an a la carte option like you can in the Coros family. Now, when it comes to strength workouts and HIIT workouts, I think Garmin really excels because it's really a more well-rounded watch when it comes to your training style than the Coros. So you do have a lot more options when it comes to strength and HIIT and different core workouts than you do with the Coros, but the Coros gives you a lot more that you probably need when you're training as a hardcore athlete, like someone that wants to do a triathlon. Where I can see why Garmin does want you to get on a plan because it also doesn't have that fitness test feature. It might be something that comes out in the future of having more workouts that are just options to choose from, especially since Coros is a big contender that I'm seeing online against Garmin when it comes to running watches. So hopefully in the future we will get an a la carte for runs and cycling events instead of just having to choose from a pre-made program on Garmin, because the Coros has the pre-made programs, but they also have a bunch of a la carte pre-made workouts to choose from. Now, like I said at the beginning, these watches are built for different people. If you want to see in-depth reviews about both of these watches, you can go check out the full reviews that I have for both of them on my channel. But what it comes down to is how hard these watches push you. The Coros Pace 4 literally tells you when your activity level is dropping, when you need to go harder, when your activity level is increasing, and you're increasing your fitness level. Whereas the Garmin is constantly reminding you, hey, you had a stressful day today. You should probably rest. And you have to tell your inner baby, hey, I need to go work out. Like, I don't need to listen to Garmin telling me I need to rest today, just got a little less sleep. But that's most likely the person you are when you buy a Garmin. And if you don't want to be that person, you need to get on the Coros level, because they're literally like, I know you got 6 hours of sleep, but you only worked out 4 times this week so far. So unless you want your training fitness level to go lower, you better work out today, and it better be really freaking hard, because I'm going to give you a lower score if you don't do it. This watch pushes your limits. This watch really just, wants you to push your limits, but is okay with you having a balanced lifestyle. Now, the navigation controls on both of these watches are absolutely different than each other. The Garmin Forerunner 165 has 5 buttons. The Coros Pace 4 has, like 2.5 buttons. You got the scroll wheel, which I'll say is a button, and then you have an actual button. Then you have an activity button, and it only works when you're on activities. Like, what? Make it do other things, yo. Whereas the Garmin Forerunner 165, all the buttons are useful whenever you need them, and you can create certain custom shortcuts on it. Now, they're both touchscreens as well, but the Coros Pace 4 also has a scroll wheel, which kind of makes it so that the touchscreen is obsolete. I didn't use the touchscreen on this as much once I had the scroll wheel. And then when it came to the Forerunner 165, the touchscreen I'd use occasionally when I want to look around, but the buttons are where it's at. I'm a button guy. So if you're a button guy, go Garmin Forerunner 165. But if you're a person that's not really a button person and you would like to try a different experience of scrolling, because that's what watches used to be, is just a little scroll thing to change your time hands. So it's a really cool feature, honestly. And I think give it a try if you've been using buttons your whole life, because I'm kind of addicted to it. But I do like my buttons. And honestly, the buttons help out more when you're in a workout, because this scroll thing is not easy to use when you're in the middle of a run and you're trying to scroll around. Like, I use the touchscreen to see my different stats or change workout features. The Garmin Forerunner 165, buttons all the way, baby. So for ease of use when it came to working out, I'd say the Garmin Forerunner 165 is much easier to navigate. So if you want to touch your watch while you're working out, Garmin Forerunner 165. If you want to touch your watch while you're working out, don't get the Coros Pace 4. Now let's talk about the build of these watches. Honestly, they feel like they're the same materials. I'll put up the material list on the screen right now. You can look at that while I talk about this, but they're very similar. I'd say the Coros Pace 4, you can definitely feel it less on your wrist from how it's constructed, how it's built, and it's just really thought out. But you also have to remember that the Forerunner 165 is about 3 years old now, so Coros Pace 4 has 3 years of more design built into it than the Forerunner 165. So if you're looking for a more advanced future watch, Coros Pace 4 might be where it's at. Now, for overall feel in general, they both feel good. But like I said, the Coros Pace 4 does feel lighter. The band material feels a little less sleek, and that's good for slippage when you're sweaty. This watch slipped around a lot less than my Forerunner 165. The Coros Pace 4 stayed in place, but when I run with my Forerunner, I have to constantly move it back in place. Now, I'd wear both of these watches 24/7. I sleep with my watches, and they both were very comfortable when sleeping with them. But the Forerunner 165 has a feature that I cannot live without, and is why I'm not going to be living with the Coros Pace 4 every single day. It has the red light feature, it has the sleep mode feature, all easily accessible. For the Coros Pace 4, you have to go into like some back menus, move stuff around, and click some little buttons, and it really doesn't get dark enough for when I'm putting my son to sleep, so I always took this watch off at nighttime when I was putting my son to sleep, and then I'd put it back on at night, and I'm like, this isn't really worth it, so I just keep it off half the time. And honestly, the sleep tracking is total dookie doo-doo compared to Garmin Forerunner 165. Now, the red light feature is my favorite on the Garmin Forerunner 165, and the sleep feature is as well, because it automatically puts red light on, dims my screen, turns off notifications. If you're looking for more of a lifestyle watch to really like fit your needs at nighttime, between daytime and night and evening, the Garmin Forerunner 165 is where it's at. If you don't give a shit about any of that, hopefully I bleeped that, get the Coros Pace 4. And let's be honest, if you don't care about those things, you're probably getting the Coros Pace 4 because you don't need to recover, you don't need sleep. Who needs that? You need to train harder is what this watch wants you to do. Balanced lifestyle, y'all, and it's gonna help you with more balanced lifestyle by having the right features to help execute that. Now, like I said at the beginning, these watches are built for two different people. Yes, both people that want to be athletes, but this is the serious athlete, the Coros Pace 4. This is the athlete that wants to hang out with his friends still and wants to have a social life, which is the Garmin Forerunner 165. You choose which person you want to be, but you better commit to it, because if you're looking for one and you start with the other, you're not going to be satisfied with the watch. If you want to be a serious athlete and you get the Garmin Forerunner 165, probably should have paid more for a different Garmin watch or gotten the Coros Pace 4. Now, if you're looking to be an athlete and live a balanced life, when you got the Coros Pace 4, you're probably going to feel bad about yourself every single day, like I did for 2 months wearing this watch, and made me really go back to wearing my Forerunner 165 every day instead of this one. Final verdict, which one should you get? Hey, I just said it. If you're trying to go hard, get the Coros Pace 4. If you're trying to live a balanced life, get the Garmin Forerunner 165. And honestly, I want to hear it in the comments which one you want to get. If you're trying to go hard, comment super athlete for the Coros Pace 4. And if you're trying to live a balanced lifestyle and still be an athlete, Garmin Balanced Life for the Garmin Forerunner 165. And if you want to see more in-depth reviews on more stats about both of these watches, just check out my in-depth reviews of both of them right over here or over here, wherever I have more space. And I'll catch you in the next one for, I don't know, another watch review, maybe a ring.